Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a salute to the flag and a moment of silence, please.
She's not coming.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Here.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Here.
Mr. Panucci? Ms. Suter? Mr. Reed? Ms. Cantilla?
Here. Mr. Edwards?
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of the public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Brick Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be posted on the Administration Office Bulletin Board, the official district website, and Channel BTV 20, and sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Brick Times, the Star Ledger, and Municipal Clerk's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Do I have a motion and a second to go into closed session?
Motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli, and thank you, Mr. Conti. Mr. Edwards?
Whereas the Brick Township Board of Education has been formed pursuant to applicable New Jersey statutes, and whereas the board is charged with the responsibility of performing all acts
Yes.
and doing all things consistent with the laws and the rules of the State Board of Education necessary for the lawful and proper conduct, equipment, and maintenance of the public schools and public school property of the Brick Township School District, and whereas Section 7 of the Open Public Meeting Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting of the board in certain circumstances, and whereas the board has determined that the circumstances exist for such an executive session, and whereas the board has found the action described below to be necessary and proper, now therefore be it resolved by the board on December 18, 2014, that the public shall be excluded from the discussion of and action on the executive session herein set forth. The session will be approximately 60 minutes, and the general nature of the subject matter is personnel, negotiation, and student matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter will be made public if and when it is deemed to be in the public interest to do so, and the need for confidentiality is no longer required by the board. Sorry, almost got it through without stumbling.
That's a lot to say, Mr. Edwards. Thank you. Ready?
You need a vote. No, you had motion.
You need a-
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
We have to vote.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I
That's what I
thought.
thought.
Mr. Schulte?
Yes, I think we should go into closed session.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes.
Nervous people.
Thank you.
Christmas. That was Christmas music, right?
Reconvene. Motion to reconvene in open session.
Yes.
It's a little better green this time.
I'd like a motion to re-enter public session.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Ms. Carey?
Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter? Yes. Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. Moving on with presentations, we have Brick Memorial High School. Sean?
Hope you're all excited for the spring, as I am. Can't come quick enough. This month, we have a lot of college acceptance coming in. One, I'd like to talk about a good friend of mine, RJ Hernandez. He got into Princeton University. That's the fourth Ivy League acceptance in 4 consecutive years. He got $44,000 a year to go there. He's a great kid. He's an Eagle Scout, second in the class. He's a really hard worker. Really excited to see him get in. That 4 years thing, I think is going to go up because there's a lot more kids applying Ivy League this year. And a lot of them, I think, are going to get in.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
We wish the same to you. Alana for Brick Township High School.
Hello, everybody. I'm here to tell you again about the first day of Bricktown High School. This November, James P. Leon was the WOBM Student of the Month for November. Really cool. It's one of my friends, so we all have to congratulate him. It was awesome. We also encouraged many veteran day activities. We had a guest speaker, we had a regional and loudspeaker, and we also held some essay contests. We hosted the symposium on marijuana use in Oakland and Monmouth County. It's also very cool. And also in November, our football team, A South champions. That was a lot of fun. I got to go to a lot of football games. We also had our PTSA craft fair. That was pretty great too. I was there. I think I spent $50. And then we're moving on to December now. And in December, we had our first superintendent focus group meeting. It was very, very cool. Dr. Yu came in a day this week, a day, and we got a group together of kids, and we were in the conference room, and we talked about the climate of the school, like, he was into what we thought was going on, what we help make it better. He explained things to us, and it's just really awesome that kids are getting informed about things that are going on here, or with you guys, and then you guys are here to listen to us also. So we thank you genuinely for that. We also had our NHS induction. It was awesome, right here, and we have some new inductees in the National Honor Society. We are doing a quiz baton also here at the high school. Today, actually, the SGA and I went over to the municipal building and found some toys, some Christmas music, some pretzels. It was a jolly time, like Santa's workshop over there. Our teacher of the year is Miss Segreta. She teaches computer science, Java programming. She's a really sweet lady. We're very proud of her, very happy to have her. And Ms. Rowland was the awarded educational service professional. She's also great, super nice lady, and again, we're happy to have her also. We also have Mr. Bob, our workshop teacher, who made a lawn wrap and raffled it off, and all the proceeds went to the fire department that is doing more programs with Boys for Tots. So we're really trying to get toys to the local tots in the community. It's really good for our neighborhoods. And Ms. Vitruni is also helping spread the Christmas spirit by making Christmas dinners. And all the food is donated by our wonderful staff here at Brick Township High School. And also for us, all our winter sports are beginning tomorrow. We got a basketball game tomorrow. Our wrestling is starting on Saturday. And that's pretty much it for the wonderful city of Brick Township High School. And we'd also like to congratulate Sean for his college experience getting accepted to Brick. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Thank you, Alana. Moving on to our approval of minutes. November 23rd, 2014, Executive Session 1. November 23rd, 2014, regular meeting, and November 23rd, 2014, Executive Session 2. I need a motion in a second.
A motion.
Thank you, Mr. Panucci.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Does anyone have any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Sudar?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantilla?
Yes. Moving on with our committee reports, I've asked anyone with anything significantly to report to let me know, and I believe, Mr. Reed, you were the only person that sent me an email that said that you had a report.
Okay, thank you. And I've said this before, we've had so many great student representatives in here talking to us. I wish I had their speaking voices, you know? So I think that's why we skipped the committee reports for the last couple years, couple meetings. But on the facilities, I just want to point out, you know, how many programs are going on to improve the facilities here in the school. We had a meeting on December 8th, myself, Ms. Suter, Mr. Panucci, Dr. Uzensky, Mr. Edwards, our facilities manager, Mr. Liming, his assistant, Roger Riddell, our volunteers, Walter Campbell, and two people from our architectural firm, Mr. Iamello and Mr. Curry were there. We have a lot of projects going on. The ROD grant projects that we have total $7.5 million. These budgets for these projects, as you know, are 40% paid for by the state, so they're important. We're moving on bids on most of them without going into all the detail. We have a capital lease program that will go for how many $1 million in improvements at Brick Township High School, Mr. Edwards?
Brick Township High School, $7.5 million.
$7.5 million, so there's another $7.5 million that's budgeted for the schools. The ROD grant projects totaled $7.5, and we're going to spend another $7.5. We're financing with a capital lease program that'll be over 5 years. So that totals $15 million, and then we've got a lot of ongoing other projects without boring you because it goes for 3 pages. So we are spending a lot of money on fixing our facilities in the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. And Mr. Conti, you said that you wanted to make a comment about some of,
Yeah, it's not a committee report, and typically I'm up here and I have a lot of good news to put forward, but unfortunately on December 8th, one of the members of the class of '97, Marie Wagner Gemelnow, tragically passed away at her home along with her 2 little boys in Gaithersburg, Maryland. The class of '97, there was a GoFundMe page and a few other things that have raised a significant amount of money for her surviving husband, Ken, and her daughter, Arabelle. And as a class, my graduating class, we were able to come together, and we had an evening at River Rock. It was very last minute. River Rock decided to host it. It was very well attended by not only class of '97, but some of the members of '98, '95, '96, and everybody that had known Marie. It was great to see in the face of tragedy, and I think we've seen this before too with Hurricane Sandy, but in the face of something like that, how much our community rallies together and comes together as a group for a cause. So that was great and wonderful to see. I just wanted to make mention of that her and her family are in all our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully they can get through this as best they can. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Conti, for letting us know about that. Dr. Uzinski, you want to join me? We have a presentation. It is Mr. Reed's last board meeting. Tonight, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to a very special man. One who is not only a fellow board member, but a man I will forever call a friend, Larry Reed. As a Brick Township Board of Education member, you are one of 7 people thrown together by the will of the voters through an election. You have no choice in the people with whom you serve. Most of the time you don't know each other very well, but you usually find a common ground in which to work which benefits the school district. I look back now, and if I were to list the qualities of a great board member, one I could create to serve with, it would be Larry. After spending the last 3 years serving with Larry, seeing firsthand the exceptional work ethic and character he has demonstrated, I know for sure the people of Brick got it right when they elected him. I could stand here and I could list all of the accomplishments Larry's made to this district. But knowing Larry, he likes to keep things short, to the point, and round it off, as you know him. Larry, you will be sorely missed by all that we're fortunate enough to have worked with you. I wish you the best in whatever you decide to do when you leave this dais tonight. But I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done on behalf of the Brick Board of Education.
Mr. Reed, 3 years of countless unselfish volunteer hours, serving the Brick Township Public Schools, striving for excellence, efficiency, and the success of all our students, 2011-2014. With admiration and gratitude from the students, faculty, staff, and central administration of Brick Township Board of Education.
Have a short 15 minutes each. Oh, thank you. I really
I'm going to give him
appreciate
the
this,
box.
and, you know, I know it's heartfelt, but I think the district is going in the right direction. I think we're making improvements, and I think it's been a pleasure working with this board. I want to say that we had a lot of great accomplishments, benefit the students, student achievement, and improve the facilities, and I wish the district well in the future. Thank you.
Dr. Uzinski, do you have a superintendent's report?
Just at this time to wish everyone a happy holiday and happy new year. Looking forward to a very successful new year starting off. We have the park test coming in. We have curriculum mapping. We have the great pleasure of being CUSAC'd. So we have an innumerable number of activities. So once the break is over, we'll be rolling up our sleeves and we'll be involved in many, many areas of getting ready for student achievement. So stay tuned, and I wish everyone a safe and happy, healthy holiday.
Thank you, Dr. Uzinski. Moving on to curriculum and instruction, Dr. Morgan.
Thank you, Madam President. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items, number 1 through 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Do I have a motion for items 1 through 7?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Suter.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Do I have any questions from the board on curriculum and instruction items 1 through 7? Seeing none, do I have any questions from the public on items 1 through 7? Certainly. Just, you could just come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you for the opportunity. I see number 6, the 2015-2016 calendar. I'm Rabbi Robert Rubin. I live in Brick, and I'm Rabbi at Temple Beth-Or, 200 Manziel Road, at the corner of Route 70. And I did see the copy of the calendar in advance for 2015-2016. And our question, I've already spoken to a number of our congregants, and our question is why the Yom Kippur day was not given as a day off, which has been for many, many, many years. Rosh Hashanah is the first day off. That's on September 14, and Yom Kippur would be, the Day of Atonement would be September 23. It was not marked as a day off. It's been that way for many, many years.
Dr. Yuzinski?
The only thing I could tell you is, what I do is, my son-in-law is an attorney, his firm, they practice the Jewish religion. I called him up to ask which is the most holiest of which one, and he said the 14th would be. He said the others, and I apologize, because I thought we always take one of the days. So that's how we put the 14th in there.
Well, my understanding, I'm here about 3.5 years, but my understanding from my congregants is that, well, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days, but you don't know the first day off.
Yes, that's what he told me.
The Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement,
Mhm.
10 days later was the second day. Now, sometimes they appear on weekends.
Right.
Last year, they were on Saturday. But I understand from many of my congregants that the understanding for decades was to have 1 day Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
But we chose the one day, as I told you, I asked because I didn't know. And as far as anyone that wants to celebrate that, under the law, they have the right to take a religious holiday off. They can take it off if they like.
Right. Well, we were just wondering why it wasn't 2 days.
Just because what I just told you, that's how I did it. I didn't know.
Well, is that amendable?
Pardon me?
Is that changeable?
We have to vote on it tonight. You're making your comments, and that's up to the board.
Okay. We would ask, if possible, that the precedent of many, many, many years would be that assuming they come during the week rather than the weekend, they have the same 1 day of Rosh Hashanah and the Day of Atonement, the second day of the 10th day, which is 10 days later, the Day of Atonement, also 2 days, this day's off.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Mr. Finelli? If you wish.
On item number 2, workshops, 2 questions. One, I noticed on some of the trips there's mileage associated and some there's not. Is there a reason for that? Talking about the ones that go to the park.
I'm sorry, Mr. Finelli, could you talk a little louder? I'm so sorry. You're asking regarding mileage on the workshops?
Yeah, some people are going to the park and get mileage, some people are going to the park and not getting mileage. Is there a reason for that?
Certainly, sir. Some of the staff members choose to carpool.
Oh, okay. That was my next question. We encourage carpooling because I noticed 2 people from technology are going to Atlantic City, but they're all getting paid mileage.
It depends on where if they're choosing to carpool if they can. I mean, in some circumstances, individuals can't.
You encourage it?
Mr. Finelli, of course we do, but thank you.
The second question, could you explain briefly what number 4 is and how we really did on that?
Dr. Morgan?
Yes, of course, no problem. Mr. Finelli, for lack of the QSAC, the Quality Single Accountability Continuum, it's a mouthful. Bottom line is, it's DOE's monitoring and evaluation system for public school districts. What the DPR is, it's a self-evaluation process. So it's a first step in a long journey. The bottom line is that as a district, we evaluate ourselves. It's a self-evaluation. It's a document, and it addresses the categories that you saw. It addresses instruction and program, it addresses governance, it addresses fiscal management, operations, and personnel. So we, through committees, we go through this process and fill out this self-evaluation document. And then it gets sent to DOE, and then we await their further guidelines. And we should be receiving guidelines for the next part of the process, the beginning of January.
All self-evaluation you put together.
Well, yes, essentially, the DOE, that's as much of guidelines that they provided so far. We'll be receiving more guidelines at the beginning of January. We'll be happy to share our updates as we receive them. How do we, as I said, it's a self-reflective process, and if you see the page, we obviously did fairly well. We did well. But again, it's the first part of the process. We receive more guidance from DOE at the beginning of January.
Let me just make a couple comments about what my observations are, see if they're correct.
Mr. Finelli, I'm just going to say that Dr. Morgan answered your question. Your feelings on the process are not what we're here for, okay? You can ask her a question on what this is or whatever, and she answered you, but I really would like to hold it to just that.
Okay.
If you could.
About the first two categories then.
Okay.
In fact, the first 2 or 3 pages that are on here look like objective numbers-oriented results. They're all numbers. The rest of it, when you get into the back, is pretty much activities, but the first 3 pages are results. And they're weighted. So in the first 2 categories, you can get a point value for language arts of up to 3, but you got nothing. In there, you got mathematics up to 3, and you got nothing. And then the next category, you can get anywhere from 10 points to 1 point, and you got 1 point. So 1 out of 10, and then in the next page, you got anywhere from 10 points up to 5 points, and you got 6. These are all look like the measurements of numbers. They all relate to numbers and percentages and whatnot. Based on that, 0 out of 6, 1 out of 10, and 6 out of 10. My impression is that's not very good numbers for results. I realize that when you get to the back of the report, it's all activities, and you give yourself the highest points on all of them. So on one thing, it's activities, on the other, it's results. Doesn't look very good to me, so I guess I'm wrong or you're wrong. But since Mr. Kite doesn't want us to discuss it.
No, I didn't say that I didn't want you to discuss it. I just said that your feeling on it at this point, it's an ongoing process right now. So I think that, you know, Dr. Morgan said it's a self-evaluation, and I think she answered the question. So I didn't feel that there was any need to belabor the point. That's all.
That's your feeling, that's not mine.
Okay.
I'm asking a question about the results of something that you're voting on, and there was no presentation at all. I looked at the results, they didn't look too
We're
good.
voting on.
But when we talk about them, we say we did pretty good, so one of us is right, one of us is wrong.
Mr. Finelli, this document is for the next, until this process is completed with DOE. It's an ongoing process. Instruction and program. First of all, the way they share this document with us, they're basically saying, well, take a look at this. Does this work? Does this not work? It's not whether a 1 or a 0. It's yes or not at this particular juncture. Instruction and program is a huge portion of examination. It's not solely about the test score, so it'd be premature, really, truthfully, to, if I'm understanding you correctly, to look at it that way. It is a self-reflective piece. We're receiving more guidance from the Department of Education at the beginning of January, and it's through this process, we promise you we will share that. But it would be really premature to say, as a district, we did well, we did not well. That is not the purpose of this document. The purpose of this document is a self-examination, and it's part of effective research, truly, in governing a district. So it's a good piece of information at this time, but it would be too premature to address what you're asking for, because that's not the purpose of this document at this juncture. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the public? Seeing none?
Can I ask a quick question with what this gentleman had brought up with the calendar? Can
Sure.
If a staff member wants to take off Rosh Hashanah, Dr. Uzinski said that they legally can. Does that come off their personal time? Like, how would they take that off and get paid for it if they chose to take off that religious holiday?
Want to answer that, Jack? It's a legal question.
Yeah, they have the right to take it off, and they can either take it off without pay, or they could take it off and charge it to what are their accumulated personal days or vacation days.
Okay. And if a student wanted to take off on Rosh Hashanah, normally if there is a test on a day when a child is out sick and they don't have a doctor's note or something, they can't make up tests. or hand in projects. So if a student wanted to take off on Rosh Hashanah,
If you can.
I could answer it.
okay,
I could answer it. Under the law, under regulations, if you take off for a religious holiday, we have to accommodate, period.
the students as well.
Yes, everyone.
Okay.
If you take off for a religious holiday, you have to be accommodated.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Cantillo.
You're welcome.
And
Mr. Panucci?
just two quick things, Madam President. Number 4 with the QSACs. This is the first time we're having to do this, so this is a brand-new process, correct? No. Or at least that it's up on the board level.
Let me just interject. May I, Dr. Morgan?
Please, thank you, Doctor.
This part of this section of it, yes.
Yes, this
And it
section.
is strictly a self-reflective.
Right.
I could say that we're a 30, you could say we're a 40, we could say it's us reflecting on what, and they're going to look at it. They're going to say, well, you're too hard on yourself. You know what? We see it this way. You missed this, this, and this. So this is a first step of a long process. That's all it is. It's a self-reflection piece. And the process, as you say now, yes, the new part of it is to share it with the board.
And eventually, this could be a really strong tool for us
Yeah,
to
they're gonna
grow as a
evaluate-
district by really looking at
Yes,
ourselves.
they're going to come in, and the purpose of the evaluation is to see what they could do to help us and to aid us in doing whatever area we may need attention in.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
it's a thorough process. It's an excellent process, by the way.
And just on number 6 on the calendar, just the rabbi, made a good point. But I mean, also, the calendar, we have a set number of days also contractually that we have to have as well. Something like 15 holidays that's already built in there. So if that's the case, and knowing that everybody can be accommodated for that religious holiday, which is the most important thing, I'm assuming that's probably why we can't, reconsider giving that day off. Would I be mistaken in that?
That's part of it. That's correct.
Okay. But it's important to know that, if that is something you celebrate, it's important that you will be accommodated for that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Cusinelli, did you have a question?
No, Frank just asked it.
Okay, great. Okay, Ms. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Operations, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Cantillo. The superintendent recommends items 1 through 23.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 23?
I'll motion.
Thank
Second.
you, Mr. Panucci, and thank you, Mr. Reed. Do I have any questions from the board on these items?
I do.
Mrs. Suter?
On number 1, it says there was a transfer made from, I guess, central registration to teachers' class coverage. Is that for substitutes? It's at the bottom of page 1.
Mr. Edwards, would you be able to answer that?
Can you give me the transfer number so I can know which one I'm looking at? I'm sorry. Is it 307?
Yes.
Yeah, that's for teacher class coverage. So teacher class coverage is used for more than just covering for teacher absenteeism. It's also used for teachers who are pulled into meetings, such as CST meetings or IRNS meetings. So it's not just subs.
Okay.
Mrs. Morgan would be that's one of your accounts. Do you recall what?
Is that during like their prep time that they go in there? Like if
Yeah,
they
correct. So the teacher's
Okay.
contract says that if they're asked to cover a class while they're on prep, they're paid an hourly rate for doing so.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from board members?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Where's Southgate Manor exactly?
Freehold.
I can answer.
It's in Freehold.
Freehold.
Freehold. It would be nice to have a banquet facility here in Brick. There's that empty lot there on Route 70. What was there before? Food Town. That would be a great place for a hotel and a banquet facility. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Reed. Anyone else from the board with a question? Seeing none, any comments from the public on items 1 through 23? Yes, sir.
Well, my name is John O'Rourke.
268 Westlake Drive, Brick. Number 9, I see part of that is commission to the blind. Just a little background. I have a grandson who's in the kindergarten class. He's the Commissioner of the Blind has come in to evaluate his situation. And what they have done, they had, the district had sent a pre-approval that they would, the Commissioner of the Blind, large print material recommendations for his class. I was just wondering, is that where it's covered in that particular section right there?
Jim? Oh, this is the...
You're
9.
asking if the printed material that he receives is covered under this?
Well, the district has already received it. As soon as the district had faxed over what the tenants would approve, they sent the material. And I just was wondering if they came under that particular section now.
Under out-of-district placements? I don't think so. Mr. Edwards?
No, this is for a school contract. This is for a student who is attending the Commission for the
Yeah,
Blind.
no,
Am I
that-
saying that correct, Mr. Russell?
Okay, so it doesn't, that particular would not come on, I'm not sure what.
Not under this.
Board agenda would come under. In fact, he's a kindergarten student over at Warren Wolf School. And the school district has already, the school has already received its large print for him to be using in the classroom and at home. And they made some other recommendations about, the environment for his teaching. And I just wondered what, it was supposed to be approved at this particular meeting, even though they've already received, it was like they had said that the district planned to approve that. And I just wondered, what part of the agenda would it come under that?
Are you talking about paying for the supplies, or are you talking about
Right.
the supplies?
Right.
Mr. Edwards, would that be in the,
No, that wouldn't be on the board agenda at all. The ordering of the supplies would be done through a purchase order process, which would come from the actual building principal. And the supplies are ordered. The payment of the bill, once the supplies are ordered and have been received, the board approves the payment of the bill. But the actual ordering of the supplies themselves, that's not done by the board.
Okay, well, it's already been done, and my purpose in being here was to thank not only the Commissioner of Blind and the board for approving that, because I'm sure it'll be a big help. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Any other questions on items 1 through 23? Mr. Finelli?
Number 13, the one with picnics, there's a couple errors in there you might want to correct. It lists Wednesday and Thursday is the date of the picnic.
His
name's got to give his name.
Mr. Finelli, you have to give your name and address every time you come up to the microphone, just for the record. But I really would appreciate no screaming out from the audience, please.
About what meeting that that's happening.
And I'm not going to have it happen, so.
Vic Finelli, 24 Meadow Point Drive. Two errors, one that has Wednesday and Thursday for the picnic. I'm sure it's probably Thursday, but it says both. Under category 5, cancellation, if you cancel at any time after 3/1/14, you got to pay $1,000 penalty. I'm sure that's supposed to be 3/1/15, but it says 14.
Okay.
My next question is for Mr. Edwards. I don't know if we discussed this in the past. I'll ask it again. The final, I know you had a revised Brick Township Board of Education tax levy receipt schedule, and all you did was change the dates there. But I just had a question on all of the documentation that I've seen so far this year on the school board website, in the newspaper, and in the meeting from 3/20, total tax levy was around the $97 million range. They were all relatively close to that. And I realize they all say estimated, but when we see the final of what you're collecting, and I know we had some discussions early on about the tax levy and whatnot, that's $99 million and James. Is there a reason, two questions, is there a reason why we list debt service separately? And is there a reason why it's $1.5 million different from anything else that we've seen?
Ms. Cantello, is that okay if I respond?
Yes.
So, if I understand your question correctly, you want to know what is the purpose of debt service?
Now, why is debt service listed separately, and why does everything else that I've seen, three different things that I've seen so far this year with the final tax levy, local tax levy was in the 96 to 97 million, but you're actually collecting 99 million.
Well, debt service is listed separately because that's a statutory requirement.
That's what?
Statutory requirement. It's required by law that debt service be listed separately.
But you still collect it in the taxes.
That's correct. And it's collected in taxes because the payment, the levy that you're collecting is to pay principal and interest on bonds that have been previously approved by the voters at some point in the history of BRIC. The most recent bond referendum that BRIC approved was back in 2002, I believe. There was also one in 1998. So there are bond referendums that were approved at some point in time that are being paid back over 20, 25, or 30 years, depending on what the amortization was that was approved by the voters. And the levy is being collected annually to pay back the principal and interest on those collective bond payments. So it's required by law to be listed separately.
By law, you have to separate it.
Yeah, and the reason why it's listed separately is because the 97 million, which you keep referring to, that the board approved, is the annual expense, the operating expense, which annually the board has to approve that 97,622,590. The board doesn't have a choice on the $1,490,000 because the $1,490,000 has already been approved by the voters and has to be collected to repay the principal and interest on the bonds. So that when you see what the board has approved annually, you're seeing the 97,622,000 because they're approving the annual tax levy for the operation of the annual operation of the district. But then what gets added to that is the annual debt service amount of $1,490,000, so that the total amount being collected is $99,113,096.
So anytime in the future when we have a meeting here and we talk about what the tax levy and changing the tax levy.
And we do, Mr. Finelli,
I'm
so,
going to have to say, and what are we going to add to that?
well, but in all fairness, we do that. If you go back and look at the budget presentation, all budget presentations talk about the current levy and debt service. We don't ever leave it out. We always talk about both.
Well, then you didn't answer my second question, was that everything was 97.
I don't,
99.
yeah, but it's not really a question. You're stating an opinion, and I disagree with your opinion because,
I'm reading off, I told you the reports that I'm reading off.
well, you'd have to show me the reports.
Website, I took this today.
Yeah.
It's the budget, and I realized it says 2014, 2015, anticipated budget, and it says 97,622.
Right, because you're looking at the operating section of the budget, and if you were to scroll down to the debt service portion of the budget, you'll see $1,490,506. You're only looking at one section of the budget. So I'd be happy to show you where both numbers can be found, but they're always going to be on all documents listed together.
Okay. No, that's fair. I understand. I have to look in two places to get the bottom line. Number 22. Somebody quickly explain what that is. That's the OCB and T. I guess it's something to do with students. Is it part-time or full-time? Who pays that number?
Ocean County goes to.
Mr. Edwards?
It's OCVT stands for what's in the actual resolution, the Ocean County Vocational and Technical School. And so those are the kids who attend either the Performing Arts Center Academy or the Mates Academy at the Ocean County VOTech on a full-time basis.
Full-time basis.
Meaning they go there full-time. They don't come to Brick Township schools. They go to those schools all day. They live in Brick but attend that school. And Ocean County Vocational School charges $500 per kid for tuition.
$500 a kid per year?
Per year.
Per year?
Per year.
Okay.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like much, but who?
Well,
pays
it's
that?
the reason why it's not much is because the Ocean County Vocational School receives the state aid for those kids because they're claiming them on their application for state school aid, and the Ocean County Vocational School also has a tax levy that is being rendered by the Ocean County Board of Taxation and put on your tax bill that you pay as part of your county taxes. part of your county taxes that you pay goes to the county vocational school. So that's the reason why they're only charging a nominal fee for these students, because they're already really receiving revenue for these students via your taxes and state aid.
Who pays the $500? The parents or the school district?
The school district, it's a tuition that they're levying against the school district.
Who makes the choice to go there? Parents?
The students make the choice to go there. Well, students and parents, I would assume, yeah, it's collectively.
One other thing, and I'll be out of here. Just in regards to item number 23, I didn't read the whole thing, but it had to do with the support of recycling and everything else. I don't know if you're aware, if anybody was there, please tell me, because I didn't see any of you. At the last town council meeting, several of the schools were recognized for the excellent billboards that the students did on recycling. And they got the recognition from the mayor, from the town council, and from a whole bunch of parents and whatnot. Was anybody there that I didn't see?
Didn't get an invite to it.
What?
Didn't get any invite to it.
Nobody.
Know about it?
No.
No.
No. What a shame. What a shame. I guess you have a communication problem, because it was an excellent day. I don't know, you know that they've been after the township of recycling, only about 50% of the people recycle. I know they've been after the schools to do it, and it's a good thing, and the kids did an excellent job, and there's a golden opportunity for the school board, or whatever, to recognize the efforts they did, and they did quite an effort. It's quite an impressive thing. And I think the township went out of their way to recognize them, and probably we should know about those things.
If I can, Madam President.
Mr. Reed, who's normally there, wasn't there either.
I mean, I know for a fact on that internally with the school district, Dr. Uzinski went out and in his superintendent's update let all the board members know about the poster contest and all the winners. As far as them being recognized at a council meeting, I don't think anybody knew they were going to do that. That's up to the council to invite us, though. It's not up for us to know about that.
I just find it a little strange.
Different governing body.
The students get invited, the teachers get invited. I'm sure there were one or two principals there, and you people didn't know anything about it.
Okay, talk to the town council on that one.
Something to do about it.
Anyone else with a comment from the public? Seeing none? Ms. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes, and I'm especially grateful for number 23, entering into sustainable Jersey for schools to help us become, more economic and environmentally sustainable. So, yes to all.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Is Mr. Hyphantis here?
Right there.
Mr. Hyphantis, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'd want to say thank you to you on behalf of the board for pushing forward with this. And I thought maybe you might want to come up and let everybody know a little bit about it. I know that we have a resolution on here, but you did a lot of work with this, and you have a lot of work ahead of you. I'd just like to give you the recognition that you deserve for it.
We were successful in getting the town recognition as a bronze sustainable township, one of, I think, 135 in the United States. This program is very similar in the sense it's been structured to be very easy to qualify for certification at the bronze level. And going through the various categories we have available to us, I think we're more than halfway there already. The issue is who's going to work on getting the postings done. It's relatively straightforward. They made it very easy. If you're going to, for example, apply for recycling at a school, then the principal has to write something up, creative words for less, usually less. That gets submitted as a narrative. It gets verified. There's a resolution required that's uploaded as well. The state then tells you, sorry, not the state. New Jersey can go through feedback information saying you made it or you haven't. If you haven't, this is what you have to do again 90 days to correct. The whole process will be done sometime, I think, in September. We have 7 months to work on it. If you get started right away, like I said, more than halfway there already.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Hyphantis.
Question for you.
Just a quick interjection. They were actually at the Ocean County School Board's meetup. They were hosting the event, Sustainable New Jersey, and I believe, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, so this isn't 100% ironclad, that I think they're looking into to grant programs as well, too, that are going to be rolled out over the upcoming years as they start getting more funding rolling in for it. So it might be a boon for the district economically as well as environmentally.
Once we are certified and it's heading on bronze, right now there's $170,000 of grants available through public service. There'll be others added as they go along, but you have to be certified first to qualify. So what we're going to get some projects done. Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, you're all assigned again.
Thank you, Mr. Hypantis. Thank you. And Mrs. Cusinelli, I just want to say thank you to you also for working on it with Mr. Hypantis and Dr. Uzinski. Thanks. And we look forward.
Tommy Lyman.
And Tom Lyman. And yes, and Tommy Liming, our facilities manager. So I just want to say thank you to you too, and continue your work with it. We're looking forward to it. Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, Mrs. Carey?
Ms. Cantel, we did roll call already.
We did.
What?
Yeah, we called.
Yeah, we're on to human
Oh, I'm
resources.
sorry.
It's
I'm
okay.
sorry. You know what? I'm thinking about something else. Okay. Human Resources, Ms. Osborne?
Madam President, the superintendent recommends that the board approve the following items, number 1 through 37.
Thank you. Do I have a motion and a second for items 1 through 30?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Panucci? Is that you? Mr. Conti? Okay, thank you. Do I have any questions from board members on these items? Mrs. Suter?
On number 13, can I ask the radio dispatcher, why is there like a $4,000 difference in the salary from the last person who had this job?
Sure.
The reason there was the $4,000 difference was when I consulted the contract. The contract lists for the 14-15 school year that the person in that position should be paid the $47,476.
So the other person was paid the wrong amount? Because they were in the 14-15 school year.
If that's the case, then yes, that person was paid incorrectly.
Okay. Also, for the math and language supervisor, first of all, I don't see the applications for any of those people on here, and I just noticed it. Are we not going to be getting them for internal people?
No, they were on there.
I apologize, I thought they were on there.
Okay.
I can email those too if you'd like.
I would appreciate that, thank you.
Sure.
But for that, can somebody explain to me why we need a math language supervisor, K through 5? I don't understand why we need that and why this is such a rush, because I know at my curriculum committee, we were just told about this Monday the 8th. So can somebody explain that to me?
Dr. Morgan, do you have?
Certainly. At this point in our juncture, we have, as the superintendent mentioned at the opening of the meeting, we have extraordinarily intense, as you're aware, of course, Ms. Suter, mandates in terms of PARC, in terms of CUSAC, in terms of curriculum mapping, which, as you're aware, are layers and layers of processing that needs to be done. And in order to ensure that we adhere to all these mandates with integrity and fidelity, we need to have an individual, elementary individual, to be able to assist with this.
Well, when did this come about? Because I haven't heard anything about this. I mean, all of our math program and our new Journeys program, everything is wonderful. Haven't heard one complaint. Everything is aligned to the standards. Teachers are happy. Everything is going great. And now all of a sudden, we need another supervisor. And why? I don't know. I don't understand why. I mean, I have heard nothing from our math or English supervisor. Why we need this? So why wouldn't they have come to the curriculum committee and told us?
I'm going to interject in this. First of all, supervisors will not come to the CNI because central office administrators, we are the curriculum. They come if the superintendent requests them to be there.
Okay.
This was brought up through subcommittees. The Board of Education operates under subcommittees. And through the subcommittees, at that point in time, we bring up when situations arise that we need to expand upon. I have been asking since I've come here for additional supervisors in all areas. When I came, we also had department heads. We took the department heads out. I've been asking, what I would really like to have is one elementary language arts and one math, which we don't have the luxury of having right now. Every school district this large has supervisors both in the elementary and in the secondary. Also, with the CUSAC program, in the mid-year, Jim and I just went to the county for our mid-year budget review, correct, Jim? And at that time, I have to make a presentation for 30 minutes based on curriculum. And in that presentation, I talked about our coaches. I talked about that we are looking to put on additional supervisor in the elementary, and they applauded us for it because it is something that is direly needed. Just like you need teachers, we need supervisors. With the Common Core that's in place now, with the PARC test that's coming up, with the curriculum mapping that's coming up, and in Teach New Jersey, we need to get supervisors in there that can supervise the programs and curriculum and work with central office administrators. The district's entirely too large, and that's the bottom line. So that was my recommendation to the committee. The committee supported me on it, and now I'm making the recommendation to the full board.
Which committee was that?
H&R.
And can I ask when you asked them?
I've been asking them, I just said since I've been here, and that it's been ongoing every single meeting we have when we discuss anything at all about personnel. I keep asking and asking. I just said I also would like to have a separate language arts and a separate math. I would like to have more supervisors. So as we have more, if we can ever get breakage, I will be presenting even more opportunities to hire more. So yes.
Why do we have to do it in the middle of the year? Why can't we
Because-
wait? Why can't, because this is what I don't understand. On the 8th, you explained to the curriculum committee at the end of the meeting, you had said this. The posting went up, and a week later, we have a candidate. I just feel like this is like rushed in, and I have no idea that you've been asking this of the Human Resource Committee, that this has even been discussed any time before December 8th. So why can't we wait until the end of the year so the full board can weigh in on this and make sure that we all understand why we need another six-figure salary? We need a new parking lot over at Vets. We need new textbooks here at the high schools in the math. So
Textbooks are coming. That's
When?
no problem at all. As soon as the MUTA process is done, I will not allow it to be done and waste taxpayers' money until it's done properly. So the public knows and the board knows, last year at budget time, it was asked of me to spend $300,000 of taxpayers' money without having to go through any type of MUTA process that I put in when I came here to show what textbook ties into Common Core standards, which are brandy new. Most textbook companies out there will sell you and tell you they are aligned, and they're not at that time. And at the same token, I was making sure that the textbooks we get are the up-to-date, most prominent ones that we have. In consultation with the county office, they said the same thing: go slow, be careful. I will not spend taxpayers' money that fast and that quickly. We are doing the MUTA process, and the textbooks will be coming in. However, know this, they're over 7 years old. It didn't happen overnight. But there are many courses like that throughout the district, because when I came here, we were in high-button shoe days. I can only do so much, and this board has been so gracious at giving us what we need in order to move the district forward and in order for us to have student achievement. That's the bottom line. So if we are going to allow us to put on an additional supervisor, it equates to student achievement. Many, many times in this district, I sit through various meetings, not with this Board of Education, but with other constituents. I never hear, students are number one, students' achievement, let's get the scores up. I hear how much we're going to get, who's going to get what, who's going to give me this, what overtime am I going to have. I, as a taxpayer in Brick Township, am appalled at that. We have been very, very, very conscious, and I'm going to, if I may, Madam President, Mr. Reed, who is the numbers man, has been very efficient, and he sits with every dollar that we have to make sure. This is something that is definitely an improvement to the district. If you look at any of the schools in the area, you will see they have many more supervisors than we have. We are on a shoestring, and we're doing darn well. But it's very, very difficult for us. And CUSAC is coming, and we have to be prepared. And we are still not fully there yet because we don't have enough staff. We are understaffed. So it's just like if you needed a teacher in the classroom and that teacher needs an aide, and it's important to have the aide there, we put it there. We need a supervisor. I'm making the recommendation, and we want to move forward because as soon as the person comes on, or the persons, we want to get involved to get ready for CUSAC and get really deep into curriculum mapping so that we can develop our curriculums that are behind, including when I came on, we did a Fenwick English. We audited 625 curriculums in this district. That was very aggressive. We have all the data. We have the documentations. Sue Mack, who's now in central office with the data, is doing a stellar job. And we are working our tail off, innumerable number of hours, to try to make everything meet. And we are getting burnt out. We need the support and the help. So I'm begging the Board of Education to consider this so that we can move this curriculum quickly. It's not something to wait. We're dealing with children. I need to have that put in place, please. Thank you.
I just don't see how another supervisor is going to do that. And as far as the textbooks goes, you said that we knew about that before the start of the school year. The Muther method could have been done this semester, which would have benefited the children next semester.
Thank you. It was not done, so we need to move on now, and that's why I need to move on. Madam
No, I'm not done asking questions. I have a
Okay,
right
so I
to
need
ask
to move.
questions.
Go ahead.
I just want to put out there about the textbooks, that they could have been done this semester. Can I ask how many internal staff members applied for this job?
Do not know. I don't look at that, never have. We don't have that in our process.
You don't know how many people applied?
Nope, it's not. the
How
way
many
the process-
people did you interview internally? How many internal staff did you interview for this job?
Let me explain to everyone the process. The process
Can you
of,
please just, Mr. Sharadnik, I'm asking a question and I'd really like an answer.
I'm going to give
I've emailed these questions and I got no answer. I'd like to know how many internal staff employees applied for this job. I don't want to know who, I just want to know how many.
through the chair, I do not have that answer.
How do you not know that? Didn't you
Simple.
interview them? Who interviewed them? Okay.
Now, I think at this stage, the
Yeah.
process is you have a recommendation coming up from the superintendent on all these personnel items. You can agree or you can disagree. You have the right to vote the way you want to vote. But at this stage, I think it's time to move forward and to call for a vote on the items unless other board members
I have other questions, though, Mr. Sharadnik. I don't understand why I can't, I mean, how am I supposed to make a decision if I don't have all of the information? Like, why can't I know how many internal staff applied? Why was this only an internal posting and not an external posting?
If I had the answer, I would give it to you.
I don't,
Let me go back for the board's sake so that you understand and you have the process, because I gave this to the board. I remember last year coming in on a Sunday and spending 2 hours of my time to develop the process. There's a screening process that's done by the administrators in central office. They screen the applications. They don't count 1 through 20, 1 through 5. They screen the applications looking for qualified top candidates. They take those candidates. They then form a committee, 1, 2, maybe 3, and they interview the candidates. They narrow it down. They narrow it down to 2, 3, or 4. I never know. It doesn't come to my desk until they're finished interviewing. Then they make a recommendation of, we like these 3 people for you to look at. I contact the HR committee. I invite 3 board members to sit in on the interviews. I interview Dr. Caldez, Dr. Morgan, sometimes Mrs. McNamara, or even a building principal. So at that time, I don't know how many have been there. I don't know a number. I don't know who's been interviewed. I have the recommendations on my desk from my administrators who are degreed and certified and experienced. They feel they're the best candidates. I haven't interviewed them yet. When I interview with the board present to hear. The law states the board cannot get involved. They may only sit there, and they do. On their own time, they come in and they listen. At that point in time, they listen to us as administrators discuss the interview process, the interviews that we gave, the questions we asked, which candidate do we feel would fit in our district and would really match what we're looking for. And we brainstorm. Sometimes we don't agree and we go back and forth why. Sometimes there are two candidates that are so great, we look and say, where can we see a difference? And then let's keep that person in mind down the road and make sure that we ask them if they want to interview next time, because they're that good. So at that point in time, there's no numbers, it's quality. And we're looking for the quality of the candidate. And then at that point in time, I turn and I say to everyone there, this is the person I'm going to recommend to the board. The law says I recommend and the board hires. That says yes or no. That's the whole process in a nutshell. That's why publicly here I can't tell you a number. So the number doesn't mean anything to me. I want
But the number
quality.
means something to me. And I'm the one who...
I don't have the number. What do you want me? I can't give what I don't have.
Interviewed 3 people. You
No,
get
I
the
did
top
not.
3. You said you get the top 3, and then you
I
contact
did not say the top 3. I said it could be 1, it could be 2, 3, 4. I even said 4. I don't know how many. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 4, sometimes it could be 5. It depends on the committee, on who they see as the best candidates that will come before me. And sometimes they put people that I say, how did it even get to my level? So it's not a number. That's all I can tell you. I don't know a number. I don't have it because I get the candidates to my desk. Those are the ones that we interview, and then we pick.
Mr. Shrednick, can I ask on number 23, the math supervisor, 6 through 8, can I ask how many internal staff members applied to that job? Because I think that's something that the board should know.
I mean, Ms. Suter, you could certainly ask. I mean, if the superintendent is telling you he doesn't have that number here tonight, that's
Well,
the
I asked
answer.
him Tuesday evening in an email. I sent him an email Tuesday evening. I don't know why I don't have the information that I'm requesting. This has been an ongoing problem.
First of all, Mr. Shrednick, you could speak to my association, who states that that information is not to be given out to board members. It's personnel matter. That has nothing to do with it, and I only give the name of the person I'm recommending. However, back to what I said before, I don't have those numbers.
Well, then
But I
you
wouldn't do it anyway because my association's telling me not to provide that.
Well, the board attorney told me I could ask that information.
That's fine, thank you, I appreciate that, but my attorney's telling me no.
Mr. Shrednick, so now we don't know how, if there's any internal employees that applied for that job.
Not how many, you asked the number.
I mean, you have an item on the agenda, it's the recommendation of the superintendent, and the superintendent has moved that recommendation forward on the basis that that's the best qualified candidate. He may not know how many individual applications came in or not, but what he's charged to do is make the recommendation to you of the best qualified candidate, and that name appears on the agenda here tonight.
Right, but the only way I can make an informed decision is by asking questions and getting information. So, according to the ethics, I have to consider his recommendation, and I don't know how I'm supposed to consider that if I can't get answers to simple questions. I just hope the board members consider that there are internal employees here that have been here and dedicate their careers year after year after year. You're sending the wrong message. That's all I'm going to say, and it's disgusting. I'm done. I'm done.
Any other board members have any comments or questions? Mr. Reed?
I'm glad to see Mr. Kofarski getting promoted to a repair person. He did come in and replace the hooks in one of our conference rooms. I thought he did an excellent job, and I'm glad to see he's promoted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the public for any comments. Mr. Barton?
Barton, Lakeshore Drive, and Brick. I'd like to comment on the position that she was talking about.
Which one? Which one, Mr. Barton?
Number 13.
Number 13.
The comment is coming through the board because there's a lot of timing involved.
I have already.
And I'm as passionate as Dr. Zinsky about it because you are a few years behind as a supervisor position, without a doubt. However, the excuse of using Park, which is in March, and having a supervisor provide enough support to the staff for K to 5 between now and March. I mean, you're starting, but it's not going to help for your numbers this year. You realize that. You have to realize that. So,
May I, Madam President, just say, I thank you, I understand what you're saying. However, the Park test has already been determined that all scores will go down. It's not that we haven't been doing it, we've been using the coaches, but it's not enough. Right, exactly. So my point is that as we have the coaches, they're not supervised, they can't supervise. So what they're doing is they're coaching and going in and assisting, and we have some of our administrators that are going down there, and I should say Mrs. McNamara, she's been working diligently and hard to get out there to give it, but we also want to do a parent academy after school, and we're trying to get the park out there to the community so that they know what's happening with the park, and all that. We just don't have enough, so that's why we're trying to move it as quick as possible.
it is a gamble too because Park might not last for very long.
This is true.
There's people saying that.
Right.
So you have to take that into consideration, but I don't get it, why this never happened 2 years ago. We've been practicing Park, you piloted Park last year, you knew it was
Yeah.
coming, and now you're going to say 2 months before the students are going to take the Park test that.
Well, it's not just the, I agree with you, but it's not just the park. We're doing curriculum mapping, so that's going to take place of our curriculum guides, because it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in the summertime to develop curriculum guides. We've stopped that, and we're doing curriculum mapping with UBD and essential questions, and we're putting that in there. So all the components of a curriculum guide are going into our curriculum mapping. In order for that to happen now, somebody has to be there daily to be working on that, and we're lacking, we don't have it. We're moving slowly. I have to applaud Dr. Morgan, Dr. Caldes, and Mrs. Mack, because they've been working very hard at trying to get it and turnkey it and teach. We have a teacher cohort group that have been wonderful, like teacher leaders. It's just going too slow to really get what we need for that math and language arts. That's what I'm trying to do, and I want to address it as soon as possible, because our math scores have gone up considerably. We keep going up. The language arts, we just put the program in, and we still need more PD on it for the teachers. I've been hearing that as I visit the schools for all the teachers about the language arts, because it's a very good program, it's an excellent program. It does have a weak writing component, I'm going to be honest. That's why we have the 6 traits plus 1 in there. But we have to do more even with writing, particularly because of the park. So there's just so many components that we need to address. But so that was my point. I shouldn't have said just park, but you're 100% correct.
My other concern is the lateral move. You have parents now wondering why there's a job posting for a tentative position coming up. That process, I just heard the process of hiring somebody in a kindergarten class, which is first year exposure to education, and you have a group of students. Now, are you looking for a source for teacher substitute in the meantime?
No, there'll be a transition, because that person that will be, hopefully will be the supervisor, will be able to come in and go into there and transition it slowly so that we can get ready. So we'll be doing that also. So we're going to be making sure that that transition is smooth.
Can you explain what the transition involves? You have a teacher already certified working in district, making another lateral move?
We have a number of teachers that what we have with Source for Teachers is called a preferred list. So it's teachers that we've had for a number of years that have been working that we know are stellar. outstanding that we could get to put in there, working along with the previous kindergarten teacher that's there.
This classroom is going to have 3 teachers in it for a month that takes the transition.
No, only be the 2, but the other one will still be there for the transitions. It's just like when we have a teacher goes out in the mid-year, and they're out for six weeks or 4 months for whatever, maybe an illness, maybe a baby. Well, we have to transition. So we have that teacher out, we have another teacher come in, we have the teacher come in with that teacher prior to, so that there's 2 teachers in there. Then she leaves, the sub is there, and then when she comes back, there's a transition again with the substitute and the teacher coming in. So they're never lost, so that somebody's just coming in brand new and that the kids are lost. And especially the younger kids, they're very resilient. Oh, I know, because I taught in the lower grades, and so is my wife in there and my kids. My children teach in the lower grades, in different school districts, naturally.
But I've been teaching for 30 years, and I've watched people come in and out of extended absences and promised transitions. Never happened.
Well, it does here. Absolutely.
I have a serious concern because it's kindergarten.
Sure.
You have overcrowded classrooms. You have these kids who have been attaching to the teacher the whole year, and now it's going to be a completely different.
No, it happens throughout with the 1,000 teachers that we have when people get ill. Tomorrow, we have 81 teachers out already. I checked Source for Teachers for tomorrow. 81 teachers out, 27 bus drivers out, and 14 paras. And that was at 5 o'clock. I bet if I go on there now, it's a lot more. And if you want me to equate that to dollars and cents of how much the district's spending, almost $35,000 for one day. And that's just with what we're going to have out tomorrow. If I show you what we have out for the month of December, you'd say, how is there any continuity of instruction?
I think rather than looking at the money for it right now, I would look at it from Mrs. Suter. On November 4th, when I was elected to the board, I said to myself, keep hiring the people that you're hiring, keep passing over the people that live in town and have been working for the schools. That's not what this board started out with, but it's turning into that.
No, we're not passing over. It's still quality.
Getting the people that work in the schools, and my comments are done. Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment? Mr. Finelli?
Want my name and address again?
Absolutely.
Rick Finelli, 24 Meadow Point Drive. Couple quick questions and one rather lengthy. On items 15 to 20, I notice we're using numbers now instead of names for all of these. Is there a reason for that?
Ms. Osborne?
Yes, Mr. Finelli. These have to do with people's private personnel issues, and to attach their names to those issues could potentially be a HIPAA violation. So from this point forward, we will be using confidentiality to respect those people.
We've been doing it for years.
Well, why the change? I consulted with our lawyer, and I was told that that was the best way to do it. And I'm new to the district, and I'm changing things that need to be changed.
Do board members have the names?
No. Not right now. The members of the HR committee, they do have information should they need it.
Here's my next question. How do they know if they don't have a conflict of interest if they're voting on something and they don't know who they're voting on something about? Will they have some? How do you know if they don't have a conflict?
They would be told prior to.
We told right. We said that at the HR meeting.
I didn't hear what you said.
At the HR meeting, we said they would be told prior to if there was any conflict possible, if any board member, if any of those ID numbers with the employees listed.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is the attorney knows everybody's personal
I don't know.
relationships and he'll decide whether it's a conflict of interest or not?
That's not true.
No,
What
no.
what I'm saying, Mr. Finelli, is that I, as the HR manager, know who all the employees are. And if I think there's a conflict, I will consult with either Dr. Uzinski to find out if he knows of a conflict, or one of the members of the HR committee, and we will advise that person that's on the board ahead of time to let them know that there's a conflict on the agenda. But I will not disclose people's personal medical information. That's not appropriate.
You're not doing that. All you're doing is saying they're on leave. It doesn't say why. It just says they're on leave, it's not personal benefit.
When it's listed as Family Medical Leave Act or FLA, the other type of leave, that implicates a medical reason most of the time, and it's putting us in a very precarious situation that I don't think that it's necessary to put the Board of Education in. In my opinion, and I consulted with our attorney as well.
Mr. Finelli,
And-
that's her job.
Yeah. And I have also recommended it. You'll find that, I've talked about it once or twice before. I know it has been done here in the past, but quite frankly, you're seeing more and more districts use identifying employee numbers when it's FMLA or medical-related leaves to avoid any potential of a HIPAA violation. There have been some articles written, I'd say, over in the past year or so, making that recommendation. So when I met with our HR department and that question came up, I agreed with them that that would be the best course of action moving forward.
Okay, well, I'm certainly not a lawyer, Jack. However, be my last comment on the subject, right? If I understand correctly, everybody but the board members up here are going to decide whether that person has a conflict of interest. And when anything else comes up on this thing, and there are people that say, I'm abstaining from this, people on the board decide whether there's a conflict or not. And what you're saying is either you or somebody in the school or somebody else who you can't possibly know every conflict that could be going on with the board members, especially brand new board members. You don't know. Squat. I mean, Spark, new board member, what do you know about it? Not a lot.
Mr. Finelli,
You're not going to know it.
Mr.
But
Finelli,
I understand your question, and we, you know, it is a good question, because there's got to be, it's up to the board member to make a determination if a board member has a conflict on a particular issue. Usually you have guidance either coming from my office, the superintendent's office, or HR, but I understand that your point is well taken, and we need to make sure that there's some way to avoid a situation where a board member's at risk. And
Board member can't know if he has a conflict if he doesn't know who he's voting on.
Right.
My next comment, I probably don't want to tell me anything about it. On the last category up here, I've never, in all the meetings I've ever been to, seen more than one or two settlement agreements with employees. I've never seen anything that even comes close to that. 12, 13 names up there. Morale issues, or something going on, or he cleaning out the backlog, or what is that?
No, it has nothing to do with morale. It is a personnel issue. It's an agreement. Mr. Saradnik is very well aware of it. Mr. Edwards is very well aware of it. The board is very well aware of it. And it's something that we cannot discuss in public.
All have the same issue?
Absolutely. All the same issue.
Just my last comment on this category, and I'll be back up. General comments there. First of all, I don't know, the superintendent realized that he raised his voice about 6 octaves when he was talking to Mrs. Seaman, and I believe that's wrong. Secondly, we're all taxpayers in Brick, right? We all worry about expenses. As you mentioned, bringing on 6-figure people, right? And I think the number that I saw, if I remember correctly, was 106,000. But if I'm wrong, okay, add to that 40%. Right? Every one of those decisions, add 40% to it, and now you're talking about 140,000. I understood correctly what was being exchanged here. You don't want to bring just one supervisor, you want to bring more supervisors, but more supervisors, more supervisors. I'm going to talk about the budget at the end of the year. I'm going to talk about, at the end of the meeting, I'm going to talk about student enrollment. And I already talked about the tax levy. Right? We don't have a blank check. We're all taxpayers in Brick. And unfortunately, we all don't make $200,000 a year. So we worry about our money, all right, and where it's going. And in the school population, where the student population is going down every year, and it's going to continue to go down. It went down last year, although I had a tough time getting the organization chart to prove that. I'm not the organization chart, the enrollment chart. Prove it. We went down 193 students last year. And if you look at the enrollment numbers for next year, and you say, what does he have, a crystal ball? No, what you have to do is look at the amount of students that are leaving the high school, and the amount of students that are in 8th grade, and who's moving up, and you're going to be down another 150 students. If Mr. Edwards' numbers is correct, and he normally says about 85% of, and correct me if I'm wrong, 85% of what we give out, the whole budget goes to salary and benefits, is that about right?
It's a little lower than that, but it's pretty close.
Pardon me?
It's lower than that at this point, but it's not 85%.
75%?
It's probably about between 82 and 83%.
Between what?
Between 82 and 83%.
All right. I'll go all the way down to 75, right? I understand soft cost today. If we go down 193 students, and I'll lowball the cost per student at $12,000, that's a lowball number.
Mr. Vanelli, can you wrap it up? You've been at the microphone quite a while. I'm asking you to please wrap it up.
Okay. 193 students, 12,000 a student, take 75%. Of that cost goes to salary benefits, and everything is a lowball. That's $9,000 per student times 193 students. My math comes out to about $1.4 million. What we should be able to save in expenses, lowballing all our numbers. Coming in with a budget every year that's flat, same thing, although we continue to go down to students. We need to cut expenses, and we can't do it by hiring people, and hiring people. And I'll get back up later.
Any other questions from the public? Seeing none, Mrs. Carey?
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes to all, I'm going to vote no on 13.
What number, Mr. Panucci?
13, no, yes to the rest.
No on 13?
Ms. Suter?
No on the number 13, the math and language supervisor, nothing against the candidate. Still don't understand why we need this in the middle of the year, and I think we can wait till next year. Number 23, no on number 4, nothing against the candidate again. I think we can fill this position with an internal staff member. I abstain on number 24 and number 37, since I didn't read 37 and I didn't get my information on 24.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. You want to bring the people up too?
Yeah. Would the new candidates come up, please, to meet at least shake hands with the Board of Education, if you'd like?
At this time, I'll ask board members if they have any comments that they would like to make. Mr. Reed, we'll let you go first.
Please go. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Madam President, good to go?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
First of all, this is what I get for writing quick. I can't read my own handwriting. It hasn't gotten any better from elementary school. As far as the Ocean County School Boards Association goes, I just want to congratulate Mr. Conti. He's going to be taking over as president for that. He's representing our district well as far as the county goes, so congratulations. And besides our student representative before going to NYU, we have had a record number of people this year getting offers and getting looks at Ivy League schools. I know a few of our student athletes also at Brick High School have gotten looks from Yale, Columbia, and Brown as well. There's been no final commitments yet, but this is the first time that's happened in a long time, so that's very exciting. I had a chance to go to Key Club's Gingerbread Social with my goddaughters. They did an amazing job and raised a lot of money for charity. Went to Brick's National Honor Society. Mr. Filippone, your staff and your students did an amazing job. It was a fantastic ceremony. It's been a good first half of the year. Scores are going up. Buildings are being fixed. Sports are excelling. It's a good time to be here. As far as the calendar goes, I know maybe next year we could, work with the rabbi and maybe make some accommodations for next year before we start talking with the unions and getting all that stuff done. That would be helpful. I'd like that. And just, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and I hope everybody has a good New Year.
Mr. Reed?
Yes, I'm going to make some comments. They're probably going to be longer than I usually do. So I'm wondering if you could watch the clock, and when my 5 minutes are up, please tell me,
Yes, I will.
okay? It's only fair. Why should people have to listen to me if, they're restricted to 5 minutes? Okay, first of all, I found a paragraph when I went to the Governance 3, which is the required training for board members. They have 1, 2, 3, depending on how many years you've been on the board, down in Atlantic City. The focus was on student achievement. And the shocking thing to me was I realized over the past 3 years how few hours we've really spent on student achievement as board members. We get all sorts of personnel issues, negotiations, etc., and we really don't spend enough time on student achievement in the district. And then we have comments here tonight about the budget, whether we should hire people, etc., saving money for the taxpayers. And I agree with all those comments, and I think this one paragraph kind of sums up where I've been coming from for the last 3 years and where I hope the district and this Board of Education goes forward. It says allocating resources. Boards establish budget priorities and allocate resources to maximize student learning. Boards make critical choices about the use of resources consistent with the strategic plan and target those limited dollars where they will have the greatest impact. Boards monitor district and school budgets to assure that resources are being used in support of reaching student achievement goals. So when I came to the schools, got involved with the Board of Education, and decided to run, there were a couple things that were not going well. I felt that the students weren't number one in terms of the budget priorities. I heard about middle school sports being cut, like $357,000 was cut from the budget to save on dollars, and we cut out student activities. I think we also charged at that time for students to participate in sports, and a number of parents complained about that, which was astounding to me because in my mind sports are as much as of the learning experience as anything academic. And it also keeps our kids in the district involved with goal-oriented teachers, coaches, and other students, the best source of education. So as I came into the district, I strongly felt we needed to make the students number one, and we needed to improve on student achievement. As you probably know, I wanted to make computers a top priority, and I am surprised that we got all this done in 3 years, but we did within our current budget. We have computers for laptop apples for every student in the high school, each high school, and we have Chromebooks for all the middle school students. So that was completed this year, and I'm thrilled that the students have those tools to assist them in their educational process, all within our budget. And it was kind of interesting because the year they eliminated the middle school sports, I think the budget came in with a $5 million surplus, and we had increased the tax levy by $4 million that year. So I was a little astounded why the lowest priority was middle school sports. One of the phrases that, while I've been here, that those of us on the board have come to hate the most is when we ask, why do we do it that way? They say, we've always done it that way. So we had on the blackboard the circle with a line through it and wrote in there, even though it got erased a number of times, we've always done it that way, because that's not the way to move forward. You could be doing it wrong. And just because you've always done it that way doesn't make it right. So I think that's applicable to our conversation here tonight. If we were doing something wrong prior to this, prior practice, as we hear when we're negotiating, that doesn't make it right. So I think the board has to have the goal in mind, which is student achievement, and if they keep that in mind, the school district can move ahead, and we can see better scores, better school placements, and when you have a top school district, the house prices will go up in town. When house prices go up, the ratables go up, and some of the taxpayers will be really happy because the tax base will be up, and if you keep the budget the same, your taxes will eventually go down. One of the other things, how am I doing?
You're doing fine.
Okay. Facilities. You know, I met John Talty on a tour of the high school here many years ago, right around the time they were doing the referendum. And I remember Mr. Filippone was giving us the tour. And, you know, my impression was there's been a lack of maintenance of the facilities in the school district. But that was my impression. And when I found out how little had been spent on capital improvements, I was shocked. And I'm proud to say I followed up Walt Campbell as chairperson of the Facilities Committee that over the time that I've been on the board either had already been committed or is committed to spend in the future $28 million approximately on repairing and improving the school facilities here in the district. Again, within the budget. So it gets back to you know, allocating the resources. I know my fellow board members and I tried to think what would be the highest priority that we could attach, and it was student achievement. So we did new classrooms here in Brick Township High School. Air conditioning is important. We try to do that as much as possible. Fix the heating systems. Who wants to be trying to learn in a cold environment, etc. So we have accomplished a lot, but there's a lot to go. I do respect the fact that the board members get to vote on the superintendent's recommendation. I know my first year on the board, there were people that were recommended by the superintendent, and we voted against that recommendation. And that's, I've always maintained, that's the board's right. The superintendent recommends on personnel matters, and if we have his recommendation, his or her recommendation, we have the right to vote yes or no. So that's each individual board member's right to vote yes or no on any recommendation that comes to us for a vote. But in terms of whether or not we should be hiring staff, that would go to student achievement. And I know there's a lot of other areas in this district that there's still a lot of savings that could occur in the operational areas of the district without getting into a lot of detail. But it doesn't take the political will to make changes where necessary, even if not everybody's happy with it. But if you're really dedicated to student achievement, you need to focus on what are the top priorities and how can we improve student performance the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mrs. Cusinelli?
Thank you. I don't want to be redundant because Ms. Cantillo really, I think, spoke very eloquently and very accurately about Mr. Reed, but I just want to personally say thank you for all you've done. I know how much time you put in. Most people don't know how much time you put in, but as a parent, as a taxpayer, and as a fellow board member, I sincerely thank you so much for everything that you've done. I really appreciate it. I also just want to also copy what Frank said about how nice the Honor Society induction was here. They always do a beautiful job here, and it's so nice to see our students who are excelling, whether it's in sports, whether it's in academics, or last night I was in the standing room only crowd for the Brick Memorial Holiday Concert, which was phenomenal. If you've never been to that, please go next year. We have so many great, great kids in this district, so much talent, and we should all appreciate that, especially this time of year. Please enjoy your families and the holidays, and count all the many blessings that you have.
Thank you, Mrs. Cusinelli. Mr. Conti?
I just wanted to wish everybody a very happy and healthy holidays and a happy new year as well.
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Mrs. Suter?
I just wanted to congratulate the Lake Riviera Drama Club. They had put on Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and I have to say, you really should look at the website and find out when these schools have these drama performances, because they are just so wonderful. For $10, 2.5 hours of such an enjoyable afternoon. So Mr. Heitman, Mrs. DeCondi, Mrs. Gruber, Miss Page, and Mr. Elmendorf, everybody over there, fabulous, fabulous. The kids were absolutely wonderful. I don't know how they remember all those lines. So I just wanted to mention that. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. And Mr. Reed, I just want to say 3 years ago, I was very proud to run with you. And I am very blessed to call you my friend. And you have taught me so much. I'm not a numbers person, but when you explain things, they make sense. So I thank you for that. I'm going to miss seeing you every month. Well, no, twice a month. Twice a month.
You may still see me.
I hope I do still see you. So I hope that we don't lose touch, because I will really, really miss you. So thank you for everything.
Mr. Talty?
Yes, first I'd like to wish everybody a very happy and blessed Christmas and a very healthy and happy New Year. In regards to the National Honor Society, it's one of my favorite events to go to. Dennis is always does a good job. In regards to Mr. Reed, it's been my honor to work with you. You're a man of honesty, compassion, and we're going to miss that. God bless. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Talty. I think we're all going to miss you, Mr. Reed. You are irreplaceable. I can tell you that I would not have wanted to be Mr. Edwards on most Finance Committee meetings. Mr. Edwards, I think you would agree with me. Mr. Reed is somebody that knows his numbers and does his homework and did an outstanding job in his capacity. And I know I've said a lot, but I mean every word of it, and we all do.
Thank you.
You're a great loss to the board. I also want to congratulate Mr. Heitman and his staff for their production of Alice in Wonderland. I actually went with my daughter, who is a graduate of Lake Riviera, and I was proud to bring my grandson, who hopefully one day will attend Lake Riviera, and he was quite amused at the production. It was wonderful, and it absolutely was a talented crew and obviously a talented staff that produced it. Mr. Philippone, as always, You are one heck of a public speaker, and you always represent Brick Township at your National Honor Society with great pride, and that is truly one of my favorite things to come to. You always do a great job with that. I would like to wish our new employees congratulations to the Brick family. I'd like to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas that celebrates Christmas, and a very happy Hanukkah. And also, Rabbi, I would like to say that in the future, we will definitely do what we can to consider. I know Dr. Uzinski did not mean it, and neither did any of us as any slight. Thank you very much for coming out and voicing your opinion. I appreciate that. And I want to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday and a very happy and healthy new year. At this point, if we have no other comments from the dais, I will open it up to public comment. Yes, sir.
Ruben, my residence is 23 Hendrickson Avenue, Hendrickson City Hall. I just want to mention that we are celebrating the holiday of Hanukkah this week, and it turns out that the word Hanukkah actually means dedication. And in Hebrew, it relates to the word chinuch, which means education. So the holiday, even though it's a holiday of dedication, through the Hebrew language itself, it ties in very much with education, which of course is what we're all here about. So I want to thank everybody here for all their efforts, past, present, and future. And at the same time, I'd like to work out the calendar issues, maybe this year even going forward so as well. But so certainly it's a holiday of education, dedication. Keep educating.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Lau. Always a pleasure to see you.
Rich Lau, Princeton Avenue. I think we can all agree that we have some fabulous students in the district, both high schools, which are getting better and better. And I'm proud to be a part of the Chamber of Commerce. And as you know, we do offer scholarships each year. And the last couple of years, we've tried to get scholarship applications out early because the students are completing their applications for school. And I'm going to deliver the person with Dr. Uzinski so information to get them to the guidance departments. I think we did have actually 76 applications last year, which is an all-time record. One of the reasons is we try to get them out. But one other reason why I like to come forward is, as you know, we'd like to solicit scholarship donations from the business community. We do have in place, we have one $5,000 scholarship already, and $3,500 scholarships, probably between $8,000 and $1,000 scholarships. So, of course, we'd like to hear from the business community out there. Our students do a wonderful job. They work very hard. Their parents work very hard, but they can't do it on their own. And I think that it behooves us, as we take from the community, to give back to the community. So again, if we all solicit those applications, if we know business people, ask them. The Chamber would readily accept donations, and through the Educational Foundation, fund them back to scholarships. And thank you for that. The residents of Brick Township would like to thank Mr. Reed for your service. I think you know how we feel. Unfortunately, enough of us didn't feel that way, but a lot of us do. And sometimes we don't know what we have until we don't have it. Merry Christmas, happy.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. Yes. We also want to thank you for everything that you do with the Chamber as well. I mean, the scholarships are just...
And we have Career Day starting up. I think we have a tentative day for Brick High School, April 23rd.
Yes, that's correct, Thursday.
We're on board.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Lau. Anyone else? Mr. Finelli.
I want to thank the board for having their executive meetings at 6 o'clock instead of 7. I noticed in the last couple of meetings, even though I wasn't here, I watched them on my computer, and you've been doing that, and that's a battle I've been fighting with for a long time, and I guess I won one. So I'll mark that down. Second, Mr. Reed, I'd also like to give you my comments. And I'm going to miss you, all right? We didn't always see eye to eye, and that's okay. But I respect what you were doing. I respected the fact that you're trying to cut expenses in areas, and I certainly get any grief from me about getting everybody a computer, and I think that's one of your big wins. So, I hope that you're not going to be like all the other ex-school board members, except Mr. Campbell. He's not included in my comment. You never see them anymore. They're gone. They disappear off the face of the earth. And my thoughts, well, Mrs. Kite doesn't always like to hear them, they were here for their own reasons, not to make things better.
Mr. Finelli, I don't know why you characterize that. You know that I enjoy that you come to these meetings. Sometimes I just think that you're at the microphone a little too
I
long.
was at the last meeting, and when I got to the tape, it said 118 minutes, and I said, no way you're going to get this done in 118 minutes. And then I found out that you did, because not one person got up here and asked a question. I think that's pathetic. Anyway, I'm going to miss you. I hope you show up, and I could use a little help on the other side of the table.
Okay.
And I know
Fair
you're
enough.
well informed, and you come to the council meetings sometimes, and it gets lonely up here. My other comments, I'm going to make them anyway. I talked about student enrollment for budgets and everything else, and I'll just reiterate one other point, all right? Take Mr. Edwards' numbers. 83% of the budget of the $140 million goes to salary and benefits. That's just goes to the employees, right? Now, I'm sure the employees all help the students, but that only leaves 17% of the money to do all the other things that Mr. Reed was talking about. And if you remember back when I first started to come to these meetings, there was no money in capital improvement. And I fought it before Mr. Reed even did. How could you do that? Mr. Edwards and I had a lot of discussion about it. There was no money in capital improvement at all, zero. And if you look at the school boards, in their bylaws, the first thing in there, the very first line is maintain the schools. Maintain the schools, that doesn't say anything else. First, maintain the school. You can't do that on 17%. You just can't do it. It's not enough money to do all the other things you want to do when 83% is going to salary and benefit. So you've got to look at those decisions, every manpower decision you're going to make, and add 40% to it, because you got to do that. That's real cost. And those are the numbers that keep going up. Every decision you make, $100,000, $140,000, you got to look at it and say, can we do better use of that money? Because that's coming away from all the other things that you want to do. You mentioned sports and the cutback in sports. Sports is great, but how many kids actually partake in sports? Every kid can use a computer, but not every kid does sports. And my biggest concern is, remember the meeting that we cut back the sports, and there's a lot of parents here. I came in here with a meeting with all of the pamphlets, all of the sports that had to do with the township. I had them all, right? And I offered them to everybody. The people didn't want them. Why didn't they want them? Two reasons. One, because you have to pay for them. They're not free. It's okay, you can play sports as long as the taxpayers pay for it, but if you want your kid to play sports and you have to pay for it, you don't like it. The other thing is, you have to take them to the games back and forth by the school district. People do that.
Mr. Finelli, I'm going to disagree with you there, and I'm going to tell you from experience. I had 2 children that went through this district, unlike you, and I don't know whether your children played any activities or extracurriculars after school when they were in school, but I will tell you that a student, and I know my children specifically, were very, very proud because they felt like they represented their school and they were a part of their school. The people that work in this district that coach our children are positive mentors. They are wonderful people. They see them in the classrooms, they see them throughout the district. But
How many of the kids actually participate in the sport? What percentage?
that number I can't give you. I don't know that number off the top of my head, but all I can tell you is one of the reasons why they would rather participate in sports through the school district is because they're part of their school. They're part of a team that belongs to their school. And that means a lot. That means a lot to students. I'm not begrudging our town activities, but there are kids that want to be a part of their school, whether it be drama, a school play, or a sport. It's being part of the student body that's here with them in school. And that's a very, very big part of it. I don't think that the money aspect, because I don't think it's a large amount of money that the town charges to participate in these things, I don't really think that that's the issue. In my opinion, I don't.
Do you have any idea how much money you spend just on high school sports alone?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, no.
Yes, we got it.
I bet you do, Mr. Pinelli.
Just in high school sports. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And everything goes out to people. I don't disagree with sports, but when it came down to the issue, people didn't want to know. They want to hear. That's it. You can't have it all. In today's society, in today's environment, in today's budget, you can't have it all. You got to make tough decisions. Oh, by the way, the decisions are only going to get tougher because you already heard people complaining about park and all this other stuff that they want it, they don't want it. The next issue you're going to have is people up here complaining about the start times and what are you going to do about that? They're going to do this, that, and the other. The decisions you're going to have to make are all going to be tough.
Mr. Finelli, I have to tell you, I don't think that the majority of the decisions, personally, as a board member that I've made since I started back in 2004, were ever easy. None of them are. You have to take a lot into consideration and weigh out a lot of different options when you make a vote. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. I think that you're definitely here for the right reasons. I may disagree with some of the comments that you make and how you make them, but I think that you're here for the right reasons. I think you have a good reason to be here. But I have to tell you that, in my opinion, the decisions that we all make are not easy ones.
I never said they were. I said they're going to get tougher.
And I agree with you, they are.
Now, I heard the school at the last meeting I went to, that you people, to me, I got the impression that you were behind Common Core and Park and everything else. But the vast majority of the people, they don't want their kids taking tests because of pressure and all this stuff. It's going to get worse. It's really going to get worse. Trust me. You might make tough decisions along the way, but I don't think, by my opinion, you didn't make the toughest decisions because we continue to come out, and I get the impression that this board feels good. At least most of the people, not all of us. You feel good when you come out with a budget and we did raise it from last year.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we try to do. But unfortunately, Mr. Finelli, I think when you were in the work field, you felt that you should be compensated for your abilities, your education, your knowledge, and your work performance. So do the people that work here. They work very hard, and they affect children's lives. No, I'm going in the direction that you're talking about. We only have 17%. We have contractual agreements that are made with employees that work here, people that go through extended education to be proficient and hone their skill, like some of our supervisors, our vice principals, and our principals, and they've given a lot. They've done a lot to get where they are. And in this market, I don't really think that our people are overpaid here. I really, truly don't.
I never said that. I never said that. And you're going off on a tangent. I'm talking about not hiring more people, and you're talking about the people that are here. Now, on a lot of occasions, I brought up issues, and the standard answer is, well, it's in the contract. Well, there comes a time when you got to get it out of the contract. The school board is so far out of whack, and the school board, the school district, with what's going on in society. I mean, you realize that 35% of the people that are represented by unions are outside of the normal workforce. They're government employees and everything else. Inside, the rest of the world, it's only 11% represented by unions. Now, all those things that they got years ago, they in the contract, the paid vacations, the sick days, the leave days, the holidays. Go outside and find some place that has 15 paid holidays. You couldn't find one. So those things have to start coming out of the contract, and they're going to be tough decisions. They're going to be tough fights. But you can't afford it anymore. And it's unacceptable, in my opinion, and I'll say that again, in my opinion, for you to sit here and feel good about coming in with a budget that was the same amount of money as last year. Because the people need tax cuts. They're paying too much money. We're the highest tax state in the country. You keep losing students, but you keep spending the same amount of money. And you're doing it by hiring people. And the last thing I make, because Mr. Reed wants me to leave, is you listen to Mrs. Suter over there. She made some good points, right? If you're going outside the school district, and I'm assuming based on the conversation that she had a problem with the person who ever got that job, I know nothing about them, I don't know whether they're qualified, but she's trying to get information. Are you bringing people in from outside, or are you looking at the people inside? And if you can promote somebody from inside and give them another job that you really want, then, okay, maybe you don't backfill that person, and you just save some money. Somebody got a promotion, somebody's happy, but you don't backfill that person. You don't look at that. You keep
That's absolutely not true, Mr. Finelli. Absolutely not true. I mean, Mr. Reed,
I just wanted to comment on his budget. According to what I understand, and Mr. Edwards is the expert, but you can't reduce the tax levy, otherwise they'll reduce our school aid. So if you lower the tax levy, they would lower our school aid.
How many times have they lowered your state aid already?
I'm just saying,
How many times have they lowered it already?
I don't know, but if we can't lower this tax levy without lowering our student aid, we wouldn't accomplish anything. Listen, I'm in your boat, you know.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Just approximately 1,000, 9 something.
9:30.
Don't know.
If I heard you correctly, you got 81 of them out sick tomorrow on Friday?
As of 5 o'clock today, yes, sir.
As of 5 o'clock. That's a little less than 10%, about 8%. Okay. I know nothing about teachers and sickness and children getting diseases and all them other things. I do know one thing. I worked for Xerox. Wherever there was an absence problem, I got the job to fix it, right? And it's fixable. If you got almost 8% of your workforce out at one day, and oh, by the way, it happens to be a Friday, start looking at Fridays, start looking at Mondays, and start seeing the pattern in your absence. And what Mr. Boss said, continuity and everything, absence is a fixable thing, right? If you're running that kind of absence, with all the sick days and everything else that people have, you have a problem.
Mr. Finelli, I'm going to tell you right now, you're right, and it is being looked at. Mr. Reed and Mr. Talpe are extremely involved in that. Mr. Reed won't be. It's very easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and sit in the audience and make comments, but you have no idea what goes on in committee and how things are being addressed. I can't specifically tell you what they are because they're in negotiations, but all contracts right now are being looked at, and all the clauses in them and all the things in them are being looked at. For somebody to get up in the audience and make a comment and give an impression that has no idea what's going on behind the scenes, I think is really unfair, and I don't give any validity to it. As far as Mrs. Suter's comments, Mrs. Suter is able to vote however she wants to vote, and Mrs. Suter has her opinions on things and is totally, able to voice them. As far as hiring from within, I think that whenever possible, we have done that, and what I will tell you is the best candidates were hired for these positions. No, I wasn't referring to you. I was not referring to you.
The past couple of years, there's been a lot of people brought in from outside that didn't work out, and they shouldn't have been brought in. Right? And I know that according to what I heard tonight, the superintendent has to recommend every one of them to the board. So I don't think the traction is that good, just based on what I see. And I don't sit in Monday morning quarterback out there and make comments. I do my homework. And if you don't think I do,
No, I would.
no, for the most part, and I'm gonna toot my horn, I know more about what's on that agenda than anybody sitting up there. And when I talked about the absence thing, I said, I don't know anything about the teachers, I don't know how sick they get from kids bringing thing, I don't know whether the problem is that the kids bring in the thing and the teachers get sick and go. I don't know anything about it. But I'm telling you, with 8 to 10% of your people out on a Friday, it's almost impossible to run that business. You can't do it. And he agrees with me, so.
Nobody is disagreeing with you. Nobody's disagreeing with you on that.
Okay. I hope you fix it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year.
Mr. Kuton.
And miss you. I hope not.
I'll be up.
Feels like it.
Yeah, we
Oh.
My name is Joe Kukan.
That's right, please do.
241 Arizona Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Finelli, for pointing that out.
I am a taxpayer. Anyway, I just want to say something that people very rarely get. I compliment the whole board. And I'm going to miss you, because you are a good guy, and I miss the jokes.
I'm going to bring them.
And I want to wish the whole board, you really got yourself in a problem. Today was the first time you got a little taste of something, you know? But this is what they do. And I want to compliment the board for what a great job you do. And I know, because there's a lot of times I go to the board and I see a lot of the board members there. And I know the time these guys put in. So I just want to tell you all, you did a great job this year. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm glad my taxes didn't go up that much, you know? But I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, the whole family. Okay?
Thank you, Mr.
And to you as well.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Hyphantis.
Twice in one night, you ready for this? You know, it's been said that engineers are dull. It's not that, we're just interested in dull things. Dull things like chillers, and boilers, and underground electrical systems. I mean, how dull can you get? But with all these comments about this gentleman here, he has been very proficient in supporting things that students and teachers will never see, but will benefit by, both in learning environment and in comfort, which contributes to learning environment. So I'm going to miss you too. Sometimes it's felt like Sisyphus, know who he was? Doing
Yes,
the
I
big
do.
boiler uphill for a lifetime.
I do.
Sometimes like that, but we've always not seen eye to eye, but I'm going to miss your contribution. I'm going to try to take up as much as I can of the workload you've been pushing forth. Although I'm a board member, I'm certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much again, Peter. And I hope Santa brings you your new reconstructed home.
Okay.
Oh, John Hernandez, 67 Square. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hyphantis. Is there any other questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll
Motion.
that.
Dates.
Wait, yeah, I'm sorry. It's been a long night. We do have some dates. December 23rd is winter break, early dismissal. December 24th through January 2nd is winter break and schools are closed. January 8th is our reorg meeting, 7 o'clock here at Brick High School. January 19th is Martin Luther King Day and schools are closed. Now I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Peterson. Thank you, Mr. Conti.
Mr. Talty?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Cusinelli?
Yes.
Mr. Panucci?
Yes.
Ms. Suter?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
No.
Ms. Cantillo?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the meeting tonight.